episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on July the 24th, 2018. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, known as Velveteen James.
Caffeine Rage?
Yeah, if you listen to a Franken episode in the whatever distant future, you'll know what that's a reference to.
Does this mean I'm a rabbit?
Yes. On today's show, we will, of course, be discussing the games which we have been playing the last couple of weeks. Xavient Games removes the culling 2 from storefronts. A coding typo ruins the xenomorph AI in Aliens Colonial Marines. Germany bans vague pre-order release dates. 4 years after it was announced, Crackdown 3 is in a tough spot. We'll have our Steam Weekly Community Corner and our Steam Weekly Discovery Queue. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Why are you laughing?
Your Steam, our Steam Community Corner?
Oh, I see. Well, I forgot to put Community Corner back in the show notes, so I went to Discovery Queue and said Steam, and then paused for that half second.
That's why I started laughing, because I thought you caught it.
Nah, it's fine. It's fine. The only thing I'll do is I'll reduce the volume of your laughter just a tiny bit, because that probably would overpower what I was saying. It's fine. It works out. And I even mentioned timestamps. So anyways, Rage, how are you this week?
I'm doing all right. Cleaned the apartment. Felt very disgusting dumping out all that dust. I think I may be developing OCD because of my bagless vacuum. Unclean. Out, damn spot, out.
Wah, wah.
But beyond that, been plugging away a bit out Fallout, but I'm doing better today. Over the weekend, I had my allergies flare up and just was feeling lethargic.
Yeah.
With not enough of a headache to be in pain, just enough to be a distraction where I couldn't really focus that well. It was sort of similar, but not quite, to our February game club, where was able to really focus for 2 weeks on a strategy game.
Yeah,
but it wasn't that extreme. It was just a mild, very slight sinus headache that was just enough distraction that couldn't really put together the Sunday sampler like I wanted, and just ended up just kind of skipping it this week.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's too damn early for autumn allergies.
Yeah, I have year-round allergies, so
see, I just have minor seasonal allergies. It used to be I would have pretty much just the flu twice a year from my allergies going haywire. But I've mostly grown out of it. Maybe it's the climate change.
Oh, that old Chinese hoax.
Yeah, you got to watch out for Russia, though, because Trump thinks they're going to hack the midterm elections and let the Democrats win. Because he's he's the toughest president ever against Russia.
Absolutely, just the toughest.
Oh, we are so fucked.
I'm making air quotes there when I said that, by the way. If you couldn't detect the little bit of sarcasm in my voice, or the sort of bluff with how I said that. But anyways, I also am doing pretty well today, despite an interesting interaction with a very angry person at the clinic.
Wasn't me.
No, it's not. 2 interesting interactions, I guess, with angry people at the clinic today. I was a bit sick over the weekend, but I went to the doctor and I got medicine because, I have a job that has good insurance benefits now, so...
Wait. You're actually able to afford to go to the doctor? That's un-American.
I know.
You're supposed to just suffer.
That's what I was doing for a long time. But now I'm I don't feel I didn't feel awful. I was I don't feel so good. Oh yeah, I have insurance. I'm just going to go to the doctor. And I went to the doctor and I got some medicine and it was affordable. And I was like,
Wait.
Share this with everyone in the country.
Wait. Hang on.
Like a civilized nation instead of a shithole.
No, wait. You had affordable care, so you acted on it?
I did. Who would have thunk it? So yeah, I got some antibiotics. Just had a bacterial infection, slight fever, some other gross stuff I won't talk about.
Our people overseas are probably hearing us talk about medical problems. Like, why does their medical system suck so much? Believe me, we're trying to figure that one out as well.
Yeah, we know it sucks. Most of us really bitch and moan about it, but
refuse to do anything about it.
Us. Yeah. This is the United States. We're becoming more and more of a shithole every day.
Wait, I thought that was what was it? The African shitholes? I lose track of all the the bullshit. I think we're gonna need a spreadsheet.
Yeah, and definitely pull the eject cord, the rip cord on this conversation. I've already been really, 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 really mad today with one interaction I had with someone. I don't want to get riled up over politics on my fun podcast recording night. So,
what, you have an unfun recording night? All right, spin tires.
No, spin tires was fun last night, but man, that was difficult. Spoilers, I guess, for when it comes out in God knows how many weeks. I flipped 2 trucks over in a river.
Yeah, it'll be episode 4.
Yeah. I did manage to get them both out and across the river without having to recover them or do any, cheating or anything. But, yep, it was an adventure.
Yeah, see, my version of it is just rather boring because, I have at least some sort of competence with this game. I don't know how, but...
Yeah, I mean, normally I do okay.
My main thing was I ended up hitting the block post, so... I had to do a 20,000 point turn, but I was never really in any danger.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mud Runner, one of the things we've talked about multiple times when we talk about that game is how more difficult the water is to navigate than in
and we were in the crossing, which the maps are essentially just remasters of the original, but I do want to look into the modded maps and see if we could do this multiplayer.
Yeah.
Because if we can, that's going to be interesting.
Whereas before, you only had to worry about the deepness of the water at this crossing, and I wasn't thinking about how the water actually
flows,
can have some effect on your truck because it flows now. And it literally picked up one of my trucks, and the smaller one, and it floated down the river a little ways before it caught on something and flipped over. And then the second time I flipped a truck over in the river, I drove off into a very deep spot, and that was just enough that it rolled on its side.
Yeah, so am I going to have to do some sort of stunt driving? Because so far in the series, we've had 3 rollovers, and you've had all of them.
Yeah, so I used one truck to rescue the other one, and then it rolled over. So I used the truck I had just rescued to rescue it. It worked out, though. It worked out.
Also, your time from Kerbal with rescue missions has paid off.
Indeed. I've gotten quite good at rescuing things. I also have a second monitor now. That's a development since the last time.
You've rejoined the club.
Yeah, I have several monitors and screens around here, and I've had 2 monitors at one point, but then I went to a single larger monitor and did that for a while. But now I'm like, I want to have 2 monitors again. So I just got one of my older ones that was kind of smaller because I have this little nook on my desk space between my monitor and my actual tower. So I was like, I think this one will fit. And I didn't really do any measurements or anything. I just kind of went with it'll work itself out.
Get the hammer.
And it actually fit perfectly in the space where I wanted it to go. I didn't have to rearrange anything, really. I did, to make the space more efficient, but I could have left everything exactly the way that it was.
Yeah, I had to move my pop filter just a little because I realized when I brought the boom arm down, it was actually making contact with the microphone.
Nice. But so yeah, I've got 2 monitors now. And also sorry for missing last week's recording, but like I said on the little pre-roll, there was just some stuff that happened and needed to take the night off.
Had to go hide the body.
Yeah, had to go hide the body. Had to deal with that.
They'll never take me alive.
Wait for the 5 stars to go away.
Well, you just didn't pull out your cell phone and punch in the cheat?
My phone was dead. I couldn't do that. But, yeah.
Speaking of games?
Speaking of games, Rage, what games have you been playing?
Well, I played a few. I have been mostly, whenever I've had a little bit of free time, trying to get through New Vegas, but that's next week. This week,
Indeed.
I have the Sunday sampler from last week, which was actually my second look at Dead Cells, which is releasing out of early access. I believe it's the middle of next month. And this is such a weird place for me. Mostly, more so than usual, I guess I should say. Where Dead Cells, it's not a bad game, but it feels like they haven't really done anything to at least the initial gameplay. Outside of make the visuals a lot more busy, or busy, as they say. Where it's at the point where some of the more crazy encounters are just so flashy that it kind of just becomes a muddled mess. Also, maybe this is why they could get away with the flashiness. They never really added a lot more variety, at least in the early game, of enemies. So going through to level 4, which is where the first boss is, and I wasn't able to get past that, but that's enough for at least the first impressions. I was just going through those levels. Each level outside, well, not counting the first, which introduced, I would say, about 3 enemies, would usually introduce 1, maybe 2, but also reuse the others. So you're still seeing the same enemies over and over and over again, and it made it very repetitive. And since this is a roguelite, roguelite Metroidvania, it makes the grind feel more tedious. Granted, it also has a branching progression system, which is where the Metroidvania comes in. As you defeat enemies, or certain enemies, I should say, you gain new abilities, which gains access to different areas of the map. So, for example, defeating an elite on, I think it's the second area, will have it where if you defeat a certain one that shows up, it'll grant you a permanent rune, which is gives you the ability to grow vines. And those vines will allow you to take an alternate path, which isn't really more dangerous. It's just I didn't have the practice with it. And the game is a lot about, perfecting these certain enemies. So maybe that's where, the lack of enemy variety is more important than what I would really want otherwise. Like one of the enemies in the sewers, which is the alternate path. When you kill it, it drops a bunch of bombs to blow up. So, yeah, fun. Kind of a dick move.
A super dick move.
Oh, yeah, truly. It feels like more they haven't really added that much outside of some game mechanics and, of course, more meat on the back end. The big thing that they added, really, that I noticed offhand was, not counting balancing, because they did do some an obscene amount of balancing, because in the early build that I played, certain weapons were pretty much God mode for certain situations. They added a mutator system, which also is tied into the overall progression system, which I'll get to in a bit, which each level you're able to choose a mutator, which may make it so that you have more health. Each enemy you kill grants you health regen. Whenever you kill an enemy, it gives you a large damage boost that you're able to essentially combo. And because the game is a lot more movement based, originally I called it essentially a Metroidvania with a sort of a Dark Souls combat system where it's a lot more about timing and timing your attacks and dodging. Looking at it more and actually some of the feedback I got and some of the stuff I've read after the fact, I would actually say it's more Bloodborne, where it's more focused on offense than it is defense, like Dark Souls is. And you could almost hear Kyle's erection because I'm talking about Dark Souls ever so slightly. But I think that's a fair assessment, saying that it's more Bloodborne-ish because of the it's being more offensive. And also, it has this revenge mechanic. So if you take a hit, it doesn't. It immediately drains your health, but also your potential health slowly drains. And as you deal damage, you're able to essentially get back a portion of the damage that you took. And some of the enemies just hit like a truck because of that, which honestly I didn't enjoy that much, but maybe it's just because I didn't spend enough time with it to perfect the gameplay. Because this is a roguelike, this is a Metroidvania, this has a lot of kind of rhythm-based attack systems. So it really, really has a high skill ceiling. Especially with how they have it where it actually kind of rewards you for not playing Dark Souls like where you're really trying to pace yourself and time out your attacks and be really defensive, which you can do to some extent because of how they have the shield mechanic where they've changed that in the early access to allow a more defensive style play. But the offensive is really more rewarded and kind of leaned towards because of the speedrun mechanic. As you go through the levels, if you hit certain doors by the time limit, which the first door is on the second level, and I believe it's 2 minutes. I'm pretty sure it's 2 minutes. Which the timer is paused when you're in item rooms, you're in shops, it's paused at the beginning of the run, so you're able to sit there and consider your first few weapons. And it's paused in between levels. So, yeah, it's not quite a true 2 minute timer, but hitting those doors gives you the dead cells, which is your progression mechanic. And it gives you some rather obscene buffs and also blueprints, which the blueprints, as I mentioned before in my previous time I've looked at this, in order to unlock the blueprints, you have to get them to the end of the level, which is kind of the tricky part, especially when some of these blueprints are obscenely rare, which is also something I didn't particularly care for, but it's more... Maybe I didn't spend enough time with it, and also it's more for the grinding mechanic. So you get to the end of the level, and any blueprint you carried is added to your overall collection. And then any dead cells that you happen to be carrying are used to unlock them. Some of them are 30-some, some are a lot more. And they also unlock not just the upgrades, which adds items to your item pool, which at some point it may be outside of your best interest to unlock new weapons and new items because that adds them to the item pool. So if you unlocked a certain combination that you really like or a certain combination that's really powerful, adding more items dilutes the item list. So it's a weird mechanic to begin with, especially since the opening item pool is rather limited. But you're also able to unlock extra abilities. You're able to add extra mutators, add powers, which are essentially just, a magic. And also add new conditions, like have it where a certain amount of your gold is carried over to the next run. So you're able to buy from the shop pretty much immediately. The first tier is, I want to say 1,500, then 3,000, and then the third tier is, I want to say 6,000, which is enough to, hit pretty much all the shops for the first several levels, not even counting drops. It's such a weird thing because it's not a bad game, but it just doesn't feel like it's progressed all that much outside of some spit shine on the graphics to the point that they're busy. A lot more meat on the back end and not much on the front end thing. So it feels pretty much like the same game that I played a year and a half ago. And a couple mechanics changes. Oh, the shield. I didn't mention the shield. The shield, which allows for a more defensive Dark Souls-y like play. And the default game, if you're not carrying a shield, you have no invincibility frames. And there were several times in my playtesting that I got pretty much the hit conga on me. I got hit by something, which knocked me back, knocked me into something, which knocked me back, knocked me off a platform, which took another chunk of health. I respawned and then got hit again and got killed. And there was no way for me to escape the conga line. Well, with the shield, not just that, you're able to block a certain percentage of damage from the front, or even parry with most shields, which is sending the ranged attacks back at the enemies and able to, for some enemies, just one-shot them. It also adds an invincibility frame, or some invincibility frames, I should say, to break that conga. But you're losing the ability to have a secondary weapon, so it's a trade-off. It's just some weird mechanics there. It definitely feels like it's more based around almost speed-run offensive play. I'm not going to say it's a bad game, but it's definitely for a certain demographic. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I've been quiet the whole time because this is not, not at all anything that I'm interested in. It looks pretty. The art style is very compelling.
They made it a lot more shiny.
But otherwise, everything about this game is anti-Jared. So I've just been real quiet because I don't have anything to.
I mean, it's not a bad game. It's just it's for a very certain demographic.
Yeah,
I would say that it's not a bad Metroidvania game. If you're itching for a Metroidvania that doesn't really have a story to it. But it's one of those that requires a lot of grinding because if you die mid-level, you lose any dead cells that you got. The first boss is an utter dick. I wasn't able to even beat him. Got close a couple times, but he has this aura that he's able to cast pretty much instantly. That if you're close to him, you start taking damage. And you do have the ability to drink health vials, which that's pretty much, I think, the way I'm going to have to eventually beat it if I continue playing this. Is as you level up the health vials, it adds more and more charges to it. So I'm up to 2 charges on the health vial, and I'm at the point where I'm pretty much almost beating him. Or it may just be I suck, which is most likely it. I'm going to have to lean on the health because I'm a scrub. But at least the health vials recharge in between levels, so there is that as well. But yeah, it's like I said, it's not a bad game. It's just for a certain demographic. It's very anti-Jared. And it's kind of anti-me too, just because they've made it where it's hard to see at times. So, Questions? Statements?
Not about this.
Lewd gestures?
Not at this.
Here I thought there would be a lewd gesture.
I'm watching the No Man's Sky Next trailer for the first time. Because it's back on the front page, and it's got currently 39,000 active players right now on Steam.
Yeah, don't get me started on No Man's Sky.
Yeah, I'll probably play the new update this week and just talk about it a little bit. But I haven't played it, so we're not going to get off on that right now.
So something else I played, or do you want to take one?
Let's take turns. I
Okay.
like when we take turns. It's nice. So the first game on my list today is a mobile game by the name of Hustle Castle Fantasy Kingdom. I saw an ad for this that made it look like a completely different game. Like a completely schlocky, because the ad that I saw was like a dude hanging out in his castle, banging all these chicks.
Yeah, this looks like Fallout Shelter.
It is exactly medieval Fallout Shelter,
which could work.
It actually works really well. It's better at being Fallout Shelter than Fallout Shelter is at being Fallout Shelter.
Now the question is it better at being Fallout Shelter than Westwood is it being Fallout Shelter?
I don't know. I haven't tried the Westworld game.
Westworld. I don't watch the show, so.
Shelter. Yeah, I don't either. But the biggest problem that I have with Fallout Shelter is that the farther you go, the more micromanagement the game requires. And somewhere around the early to mid point of the game in Fallout Shelter is where your vault is just the right size. And this game, Hustle Castle, I think realized that. So the amount of castle space that you have, which is the equivalent of the vault in Fallout Shelter, is much smaller, and it does grow over time. But right now, like, I've got everything pretty much maxed out that I can for the point where I'm at until I basically upgrade the main thing, which is the throne room, which is the equivalent
the bathroom
of the overseer chamber in Fallout Shelter. I have to get that up to the next level before I can unlock more stuff to build for my castle.
Allow me to say, there's something I've just noticed about this game. The guy in the icon for this, his crown is way too small.
I mean, there's really not much. And I mean, it's a copy of Fallout Shelter for the most part, aside from it being medieval themed as opposed to post-apocalyptic sci-fi themed. It's got a mission system that's, I guess the mission system is different. Instead of having like a little level to explore and click around, it's all just like quick battle stuff. And revolves much more around the gear that you put on your characters as opposed to, like team ups.
Oh, I got a train coming.
Completing missions or whatever. It's just all combat. There's a much bigger focus on PvP than there is in Fallout Shelter. In fact, I don't think there's any PvP in Fallout Shelter. But there's like daily and weekly tournaments you can participate in. Obviously, it's a free-to-play game that wants you to spend money on the store. But the actual gameplay progression, if there is a wall where you hit, where it's like, okay, here's the point where the game's really trying to get me to spend money, I haven't gotten to it yet, and I'm through somewhere between half and 2/3 of the story missions before I unlock the additional like late game content that's been added since the game is released. It does try and be a lot more humorous than Fallout Shelter.
Which is that's kind of weird, considering Fallout is typically rather lighthearted.
Yeah, but this has got a much. I mean, it's got a fully written out story that plays out in a combination of not really cutscenes, but just like dialogue scenes you unlock as you complete specific missions, and then also like this medieval Facebook style system or Twitter style system, which at first I was like, haha, whatever, this is funny. But actually they do a really good job of mixing the different characters together and having them like play off of each other. You go check it every once in a while after you complete campaign missions, and that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm looking at their other games. It looks like, well, I know this is going to sound very shocking, but it seems like this company does a lot of takes on other games.
Yeah.
I know, shocking. Yeah, like they have one that's Armored Warfare that looks pretty much like a mobile World of Tanks, which is World of Tanks Blitz, I think it is.
Yeah.
They have one that's, in no way like Clash Royale. Matter of fact, I think they may have a couple that like that.
But yeah, I mean, it's basically medieval Fallout Shelter so far done better than Fallout Shelter.
Is that including the updates that they've done to Fallout Shelter not too long ago with the quest system?
Yep.
Because I didn't play that at all because I lost my save when I changed phones, and I just couldn't be bothered to go through the grind again.
Yeah, I think the best way to say it is Fallout Shelter's streamlined. It's not really simplified. It's all the same mechanics, but instead of having to have like 80 dwellers in your vault to make sure that all your rooms are done, and cared for and everything, like I've got 25 people in my castle right now, and everything is 100% manned. I don't have to worry about anything. Like, you can raise the stats of your people so that they get bonuses for producing whatever the resource is, but there's no like bars you have to keep up. It's just you have wood, mana, food, and gold. And wood is used for room upgrades. You get that a little bit later. Gold is used for room upgrades. Food is used for entering the tournaments and then doing missions. And then just like going out and doing combat against the NPC invasions, which happen every day.
And eating?
Nope, no one needs to eat the food, actually. And then mana, which is used to make spells and craft equipment. Use mana and sometimes gold. And I mean, that's it. There's a premium currency. It's got like gems, but the gems are just for speeding up time on stuff if you want to, or purchasing like some of the special things that dangles in front of you. Like whenever you beat a boss, like that's the main way that it tries to get you to buy stuff or spend money. It's just like, ooh, you beat the boss. Do you want some boss themed equipment? And so far I've been like, nah, I'm good. I don't need any boss themed equipment. I mean,
yes,
some of it
you do.
looks cool, but I mean, the best items that I've been able to find have been the ones that I've crafted, as opposed to the ones that are mission rewards or that come out of the chests, because of course it gives you chests or loot boxes to open. But there's no keys or anything tied to it. There's no limit to how many you can open. You get one every single time you win a battle against anything that's not PvP. And most of the equipment, honestly, is garbage that you break down and use to craft better gear. So, I mean, it's got that free-to-play aspect to it. But, yeah, it's actually a lot of fun. I've been playing it for 2 weeks now. And from a mobile game to hold my attention longer than, like, 2 minutes, that means it's doing something right.
Yeah.
And like I said, I haven't felt any desire to spend any money on it. I haven't felt the need to. I feel like I've made pretty good progress just playing for 5 minutes here.
I think I need to find another paid mobile game. Not because I'm getting tired of Motorsport Manager, which I'm actually doing fairly well on. Once I progress in the actual campaign, I'll probably talk about it again. It's just Google keeps giving me money.
Yeah, I got $5 from him the other day for something. I don't know what, but it was like thanks for being part of our whatever service that I didn't realize I was a part of. I don't know if I should be afraid of that or not. But it's like, here's $5 for being a member. And I'm like, okay, sure, I'll take your $5.
Well, I went to
so I took that.
Well, for me, I keep getting the surveys. Just today, they asked me about my trip to the dollar store to go get cereal twice. So I ended up getting like 75 cents back.
Yeah, I haven't had a Google survey in a while. I get surveys from other stuff, but I haven't had Google.
No, it was the exact same survey. That's the thing. They asked, hey, did you go to any of these places? Pretty much an attention check.
Yeah.
When did you go and how did you pay? And they asked me that twice. I mean, I realize, they're selling my info, but they're already selling my info. That's the thing these days, is that privacy is pretty much dead.
Pretty much.
Especially if Facebook has anything to say about it.
Also, Hustle Castle has a really catchy theme tune that's stuck in my head now. It's not good, but it's catchy.
An earworm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hustle Castle actually looks tempting to play.
Yeah. So, what's your next game?
Well, my other game was something that I played pretty much just to be able to talk about last week, because I realized, oh crap, I only had Dead Cells to talk about. I need something else that doesn't require a large time commitment. So I went to my recent purchases and found Scanner Sombre, which is pretty much, I would say proof, but we also have scrolls for this, of just because you have a popular game doesn't mean your next game is going to be a big hit.
Okay.
This is from the makers of Prison Architect.
Oh, okay.
Now you see why I was saying that.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no, I just pulled this game up. I remember
Introversion.
Seeing this a while back.
Yeah, this was,
I think, one of our discovery queues.
Probably was your discovery queue, or if it was mine, it was like, oh yeah, that came out. Yeah, Scanner Sombre is the result of a game jam, or it was a couple of ideas that they had, and they, at one of the conferences that Introversion went to, they basically had Scanner Sombre, a basic demo of it, and a demo of a puzzle bomb defusal game, sort of like Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, only single player. And Scanner Sombre won, and pretty much nobody bought it. well, I shouldn't say nobody, but yeah, it wasn't exactly a great hit for him. So Scanner Sombre, let's actually talk about what it is. It is a spelunking game. Sort of like Spelunky, only actual caves, where you are in a dark cave and you're essentially wearing an Oculus Rift. And this does have VR support, and I could see where it would be very good for VR. And you have this scanner, all right? Almost like they have it in the name or something. And think of it as essentially this spray gun that sprays points of light. And it allows you to essentially get a 3D map of the environment based on where you're currently standing. And the map is persistent. So as you move and continue spraying these dots, which change color based on their distance from you, and also the scale shifts slightly based on the distance to the object that you're currently shooting. So it'll kind of even out the scale. So if you're shooting like a far wall, you'll see the colors shift so the wall is closer to the mid-range. Green is essentially very close to you. Blue is very far with various reds and greens in between. Or I should say red is very close to you. Green is sort of mid-range. Then it goes to yellow and blue for the long distance. And it's a very, very interesting exploration game where it's almost puzzle-esque in a very unexpected way, where it's not your traditional, push block to, unlock thing. It's more using a perspective to figure out where a ledge is or be able to see the environment more clearly because everything is raycasted whenever you're using the scanner. So, and if you throw out a spray of particles, for lack of a better term, it'll actually create a shadow in your vision behind like a boulder or something. So you move and you spray again and you're able to slowly piece together the environment in a very interesting way. And also because you're not seeing the environment, but these essentially dots you're leaving behind and they're persistent, you're able to look back and see where you've come from a lot clearer than most video games are able to, short of, breaking the boundaries of the level and looking down on the game map itself. Which this is kind of doing, but it's just very, very interesting. That said, let's get to the story a little bit. I didn't play that much of it. I just wanted a kind of an intro to this. And they have some sort of psychological horror thing going on, but it felt a little ham-fisted to the point where that the first big scary moment I was actually laughing at, which is not a good sign.
No, that's not usually how you want people to respond to horror moments in your game.
Occasionally, once you hit to the story points, your visor, which, like I said, is essentially it's pretty much modeled after an Oculus Rift, kind of glitches out, and you start seeing shadows and things, and the guy's trying to talk to himself reassuringly. Oh, I'm sure that that's just a glitch, and it's probably not a glitch. It's probably, the place is haunted or something. But you see, and it's like essentially the weeping angels from Doctor Who, where whenever you're looking at them, they don't move. So, you scanned them and they're just a static statue, but you go past a certain point and they're gone. So, right?
Yes, very, very scary.
I mean, it may tie in more later on. I've only gotten about a half an hour into the game, and the game is only 2.5 to 3 hours long. So it's not an exceptionally long game, especially for the price tag. Granted, I got this dirt cheap because I got it during the Steam Summer Sale, and I was able to get the intro version complete bundle, which was like, to complete the bundle was like 60 cents. So I think I got a deal there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very, very interesting title. For someone that happens to have a VR headset, I would say this would be a very good experience game. That's not just, sitting and watching something unfold, because as you move, it supports room scale of VR, I believe. I'm looking on the Steam store page, but room scale and standing. So, for a certain person in our audience that has VR, a VR setup, this may be right up his alley.
Yeah. This sounds interesting, and
Yeah, I would say it's probably a very good, pick up and play for a couple hours and be done with it. Exploration game. I wish that there was more meat on the bones. I realize procedural generation is a dirty word, but having an exploration game like this where you're not going through the same caverns over and over again would be so interesting. Because I really like, how they, essentially paint the world.
yeah.
And you do get a few abilities. So far, I've only gotten a handful of them. Be able to change essentially the confinement of the beam, so you're able to essentially do a wide spray very close to you, or confine it to essentially a laser pointer, so you're able to paint a far wall to figure out where you are, or to figure out a cavern. A very dense, wide spray that has a timer on it. Matter of fact, I think you could see the results of it. It has a very distinctive pattern to it. I think it's it's not quite like this, but the last screenshot that has the structure in the middle. Where it's very, very clear what's going on. It's something like that, but it's like a 30-second or minute charge time to use it each time. A proper map system, so you're able to figure out your bearings a little bit better, that sort of thing. So there is a progression path, so it's not just flat out exploring and that's it. But I gotta be perfectly honest that most of this game, the entire horror element, could be just subverted by bringing a flashlight.
Yeah. Yeah. Still, though, I mean, like I said, it looks really interesting. It's a cool concept.
Yeah, it's a shame that there's not more to it. I think that's my big criticism of it, is that I wanted more from it, at least so far, and based on everything I've seen. Because it just doesn't seem like it's that long. Yeah, there's a couple of people here that are saying that's an hour and a half instead of 2 hours. But yeah, if you want a walking simulator exploration game, because there is a bit of a puzzle element, but it's more, figuring out the path than a true puzzle. Like there's one area very early on that it took me a while to figure out where I was supposed to go because it was a very narrow path. And I think VR would work a little bit better because you'd have the proper depth perception.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks neato burrito.
And is that a neato burrito made by Awesome Possum?
And yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okie dokie. Well, the next game on my list is another mobile game called Trites, or Trites. I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to pronounce that. But this game says, what if Tetris, but 3D?
I think I played that before.
Yeah, it's a free-to-play mobile game that, is ad-supported, but you can spend like $1.50 and, buy the game with no ads.
Yeah, like you do.
Like you do, as I did. Because I really enjoyed it. Like, I like Tetris. I've always liked Tetris, but Tetris can get old and samey, because, it's Tetris.
Have you ever seen some of the grandmasters play Tetris?
I have, but that is way fucking beyond my skill level.
For those who've never seen it, go look it up. It's essentially Tetris at light speed.
Yeah. But so what this game does is it takes the Tetris blocks, but puts them in a pseudo 3-dimensional space, and you can see it in some of the screenshots where your view is being rotated. So you have, it's sort of like you're playing multiple Tetris grids at the same time. And if you make a match, or if you fill out a row on any plane, it will remove all of the blocks on that whole row. So just because you're getting stuck on one side, if you're playing in Trites mode as opposed to normal mode, which is just Tetris.
Trites. That sounds like it would be the name for the demo.
Yeah. But you can just take and you can rotate the board. What would that be? 90 degrees? Yeah, 90 degrees. You can rotate it 90 degrees, and then you can get a completely different layout. And you can see like some of the pieces look weird, and so you might have like an L shape rotated one way, but because of the way it sticks out, it might be a T once it's once you've rotated the board or whatever. So you just get a lot of options and an interesting new way to play Tetris. I mean, there's not a lot to say about it. It's fun. It's handled well. It's pretty responsive. I mean, it's Tetris on a touchscreen. It's been done before, so.
I wonder if this would be better if you're synced up a Bluetooth controller.
It might be. I don't know. Does it say it has controller support? I haven't even.
Well, I was just more thinking out loud. I mean, it doesn't say it outright whenever I search for controller, but it doesn't hurt to try.
Yeah.
Because, that's kind of a secondary feature for a lot of mobile games.
Yeah, and I'll have to try that later. But it's got levels that increase in difficulty, plus the tutorial. And you can start at any difficulty level once you've gotten there, at least once. And, you get scored just like you do in Tetris. And you can get combos and multipliers and stuff, depending on how well you do and how many lines you clear at once and yada yada, blah, blah, blah. This is Tetris stuff. Good game. Play it for free. Check it out if you like it. $1.50 on the mobile or on the Google Play Store. Totally worth it.
All right. Well, how about a game that you can no longer play for free?
Okay.
Because I went into Fairy and looked around after they removed the free-to-play aspect and went pay-to-play. And let's see. I think I could sum up this in one soundbite.
Okay.
All right. Fairy, this was a free-to-play strategy CCG that I actually really, really liked. And for a while, they were actually working on a mobile version of it. They canceled that and decided to go pay-to-play. $25 plus bi-monthly expansions. Paid DLC. All right. Now, you would think, paid CCG, this would be a living card game. You get all the cards up front. You would be wrong.
Yep. Oh.
It is still the same battle chests. Granted, they up the frequency that you get them, where pretty much all the dailies give some sort of battle chest. But they also, I'm pretty sure they removed one of the cards from the battle chest, so you're only getting 4 instead of 5 now. And they also removed the mechanic that I really like from the battle chest, where any a card that was a rare or higher, you had one reroll on it. So they made it more annoying to get cards. Granted, you can, they made it more annoying, but also easier at the same time. It's a weird thing where they also made it where you no longer get doubles. And they completely revamped the crafting mechanic where you're able to craft cards once every day and a half. Any card up to a legendary, just flat out. But you have 3 charges on it, then it's gone. And for a CCG, that's not a lot. Right?
No, not really.
Because, these are 30 card decks. Oh, I can't figure out what the hell they're thinking on this, really. Because I'm just baffled by this. Okay, so they removed the free-to-play aspect. They add bi-monthly, every 2 months, they're planning on doing a paid expansion. So you're going to have a hell of a power creep. I mean, hell, even Hearthstone doesn't release expansions that quickly.
No, they do like 2 or 3 a year, I think.
Yeah, and it's going to be hell to balance them. People are saying, well, it's not pay to play or pay to win because none of the cards are particularly overpowered. Yes, but you're still being cut off from mechanics that are a $14 expansion on top of a $25 base game. And when they did the conversion, I'm pretty sure they didn't give you all your cards that you had, because I had a few decks that I couldn't even play because they were missing cards that I built out of my collection. So pretty sure that they didn't do a flat 1-to-1 conversion over from the free version to the paid version as well. Oh, it's just disappointing. Because even if you get the expansion, that's the thing. The expansion doesn't even act like a living card game. All the expansion does, it allows you to get the new cards out of the same battle chests. So you can't even try to focus on the newer cards if you're coming in new. Because it will just, give you everything. It's just, I don't know. Are they deliberately trying to sabotage their game?
No clue. I've still never really played it. I got it, when you told me that they were going to go pay to play, you're like, oh, you should install it so that you get it and you keep it. I'm like, okay. So that's what I did, but I've still never actually played it.
Well, you may not have gotten it then, because I think you had to have the account.
It says it's in my library, but yeah, I've never actually opened it, so we'll see.
It's just, I'm very disappointed. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Right.
And also, they have a premium edition as well, which increases your leveling speed to give you more battle chests. Double experience, all sorts of extra goodies, more deck slots. It's just, I have no idea. I'm just baffled by this entire move.
Right.
I never even really got to play it, because what I really enjoyed doing was the single player Pandora mode, which was essentially Arena. They removed that. They rebalanced the Pandora mode's rewards. And I'm not sure if you don't have the DLC, if you don't see the new cards or not. I tried matchmaking a game and I wasn't able to find one. Granted, I may have just had bad timing but it's just, this game is low population to begin with. It's, I think it's sub 500. I should have actually had those numbers. Hang on, Steam chart. 24-hour peak, 407, which, is kind of low for a CCG. And let's put it this way, their week-long peak was right after they went pay to play at 672. So it's tough to really justify at least a for now, $22, but essentially $24 investment for a low population CCG that is going to have some severe balance issues unless they're extremely careful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually wanting to create a new award for the VGL awards just for this game. We talked about this. This is the game that prompted that.
Okay.
You can see now why, right?
Yeah. It just seems like a weird
decision. I mean, if it was $5 or $10 for the base game, it'd make a lot more sense, right?
Yeah, but I mean, what'd you say, $25?
Well, it's 10% off right now, which is $22.49.
Okay.
So $25 or $24.99 for the base game. The base game, mind you. I mean, hell, even the full game is unfortunately, it's one of those that it's complete the bundle. But hell, even completing the bundle with me 25% off because I have the base game, it's still right at $21. That's absurd.
Yeah. Well, let's move on from one absurd thing to another absurd thing. Dark Souls Remastered.
Yeah, it turns out that this is a very difficult game to play. Huh?
I did, yeah, because I didn't even play it. So I was gonna play. Kyle and I were planning to play together, and Sunday, I was gonna play it. Came in the office Sunday morning, sat down, fired it up, had my controller. The controller's not doing anything. That's weird. Let me try, quick restart. Nope, nothing. It's not working. So then I went over to the forums for it, and apparently it has the same issue that the original Dark Souls has with any controller that's not an Xbox 360 controller, or sometimes a PS3 controller. I was like, all right, great. So I'll do the same solution that worked with Dark Souls. It's annoying, but it's fine. You just disable one of the USB controllers, which interferes. I forget exactly. And it interferes with something that Dark Souls is looking for. And then it's able to read an Xbox One controller like an Xbox 360 controller. I don't remember the whole thing exactly, but basically it's tricking it to think your Xbox One controller and Xbox 360 controller.
All right.
Didn't work. Restarted.
Oh, so they patched that bug.
Yeah, yep. So it didn't work. I restarted my computer a couple times, tried a couple of little tweaks. Then my next thought was that, well, I've got different versions of the Xbox One controller, and I have my Steam controller. So I can just try different controllers and see, because the old Xbox One controller isn't supported anymore, and now I've got one that is designed, or that uses like Bluetooth and is designed to work with the newer Xbox consoles. I'm like, okay, so I'll try that one. Connected via Bluetooth and using the Xbox wireless like connector thingy. Nope, didn't work either way. I tried plugging it in.
Did you dot come up on the screen?
No, it did not. But I tried plugging both these controllers in. Then I tried my Steam controller, and it doesn't work in controller mode. If you use it in emulate mouse and keyboard mode, it works. But if I'm going to try and play the original Dark Souls, which is the worst to play on mouse and keyboard, with mouse and keyboard, I'll just do it that way instead of emulating it on the Steam controller. And then I continued to look for issues, and some people are like, yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work at all. And if you restart enough, eventually it'll work. But I'm in my head, I'm going, I'm not going to restart the game continuously until the controller works. I'm just not going to do it.
I'm part of me wonders if my controller would work. Because I have a DualShock 4, but the computer sees it as a 360 controller.
Yeah, so a lot of people are saying that the DualShock 4 controller is the best one to use if you don't have an Xbox 360 controller. And I'm like, well, that's great. I guess I can just buy a new controller if I want to play Dark Souls then. And they're not like that expensive. They're not that expensive. I might do it anyways, because there's some other games that don't like the Xbox One controller. And there are a few games I like to play with a controller. But I also don't want to do it because, like, fuck you, Dark Souls. So, yeah, that was my adventure with Dark Souls. I spent like 2.5 hours on Sunday trying to figure this problem out. And I tried a lot of solutions. I went down the Googles. I went down the official forums. I went down the Steam discussion forums. Yeah. I mean, everyone had the same few suggestions. But there are some threads that are just like, yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work. We don't know why. And there's no mods or anything to fix it that I was able to find. So, needless to say, we did not play Dark Souls on Sunday.
Well, I would suggest picking up a DualShock 4 anyway, because I really like mine. It's like a happy hybrid between the craziness that is the Steam controller and the industry standard that is the Xbox controller.
Yeah. I might. It wouldn't hurt to have one.
The touchpad is very versatile. It's one of those that, I was kind of poo-pooing it at first, but after playing with it for a few games, it's very useful, especially with DualShock for Windows. Or DS4 for Windows. Or DS4 Windows, I should say. I keep adding extra things there that don't belong.
You'll figure it out eventually.
But it adds swipe controls to it, so swiping up and down, left and right, adds extra actions.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's my experience with Dark Souls this week. Short, sweet, and I tried real hard to get good, but when the game's so hard, you can't even play it.
So hard that you can't even start it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't get past the executable boss.
Yeah, I didn't beat the first boss, sadly. I mean, I'm gonna keep trying. I'll go and check the forums, and maybe if I restart it enough times, it'll work. But I'm not gonna spend, countless hours on it.
Okay, well, my last game is also a very difficult game. Granted, not as difficult as yours, but mine actually ran for the most part. I was having recording issues, and this was, mid, well, I shouldn't say mid, but early headache. So it didn't play that much of it, and because it wasn't wanting to record quite right. For some reason, OBS was coming out dark. Like there was some sort of post-processing thing that it just wouldn't capture. I just said screw it, and I'll just talk about it instead. Implosion, whatever you want to call that. It's a speed-running first-person platformer. Now, usually first-person platformer is like a death sentence for me, because I just never really could do well with them. And I gotta admit, I wasn't good at this either, but it actually does it fairly well, where it does a Portal-esque first-person platformer test subject thing. They have a little bit of a story going on where you're in this virtual reality, and you're a test subject for this robot. You're some sort of cyborg or something. I didn't get too far into the game, to be perfectly honest. Gotta say that the voice acting kind of sucks because they have a voiced main character, and there's a reason why Chell doesn't talk. It just doesn't work all that well.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the voice actor for the main character here is pretty much just reading the script and not putting any inflection on things. So yeah, not that great, but there's definitely a potential here for if you want to have a first-person headache-inducing speed run-esque game. There's a lot of emphasis on momentum in this game that actually comes off pretty well. You have two guns, all right? One launch throws out this essentially a speed bubble where anything that's in it gets sped up, all right? And also it acts as a bit of a low gravity. So if you're shooting this essentially just in front of your feet, which is kind of encouraged, especially since this is a speedrunning game, you move faster. Think of it as like the propulsion gel, all right? Mixed with a little bit of the bouncy gel, all right? All right. The other gun is the interesting one. It is a slow field. So you hit it and you slow down. But it also essentially allows you to, in essence, double jump. And the slowdown gun can only latch on to certain objects. So there's this kind of combination first-person shooter speed run platforming thing that's going on that actually plays pretty well, but gets balls hard very quickly.
Watching the trailer for it looks like a pretty manic game.
Yeah, I would say that the trailer probably, at least in the early levels, it's not nearly that manic, but let's put it this way. The AI pretty much says after the main character says, "Oh, this is pretty easy," the AI says, "Just wait for 2 levels." And the AI was right because that's when the training wheels comes off. Oh, and also something else that's kind of interesting is that your guns also affect the environment. So bullets that are shooting to block your path will slow down if they're in the slowdown field, or speed up if they're in the speed up field. One of the early levels is essentially a chase level where you have this wall of death chasing you. And if you leave a bunch of the speed up bubbles behind you, you're actually hurting yourself because it's hitting that wall's hitting it and also speeding up. And some of the elements of the puzzle are based around speeding up and slowing down individual objects in the level instead of just your momentum. Granted, I think that they would probably get a lot more sales if they had someone that wasn't, probably the developer playing for the trailer to give an idea of something outside of top tier play. But overall, it's not a bad game. I think the second trailer actually starts showing the Wall of Death level. Yeah, it does. It's a very, very interesting thing. If you like your speedrunning games, if you like first-person platformers, which if you do, then I would really question your sanity, but it's definitely not a bad thing. It does look like the second trailer shows a lot more like the progression of getting good. I would say that's a lot stronger trailer on give you an idea of what to expect with this game. Just don't go into it for the story or any sort of good voice acting, because there is none. Questions?
Yeah.
I realize this is also probably another anti-Jared game. But this was also a review code.
I'd try it out, but I'm pretty sure I'd be real bad at this. Alrighty. Well, the last game on my list is Call of Duty Black Ops. It's been here before,
and this is
but
Impulsion, by the way. I wanted to make sure I got the proper name. Sorry.
Gotcha. But it's been at least a year since we played, because last time I played Black Ops with Kyle and Mel's, who joined us when we played Sunday night, because this is what we wound up playing instead of Dark Souls. The last time we played was before I moved, so it was in my old house. And that's been over a year ago now. So it was, we just played a few rounds of zombies. We were all real bad because we hadn't played it in forever, but we had a good time. Not really a ton to say about it. It's a Call of Duty game in the zombies mode. The original Black Ops is one of my favorite in the Call of Duty series. But I think we've got all of the maps, or most of the maps. So we started off playing a map that we had never played before, and we died by round 3. And then we had a couple of good runs on maps we were more familiar with. And then our final game we went to the moon. And I suffocated to death multiple times.
Well, did you go there not because it was easy, but because it was hard?
Yes, we went there because it was hard. So I wound up dying. And then I respawned. And on the moon, if you haven't turned the power to the base on, you have to get a spacesuit so that you can breathe. But you don't spawn with a spacesuit. But they're everywhere. You just have to run to get one. So I died. Unfortunately, Kyle was unable to save me. He was like 1/10 of a second too slow. So I spawned. I'm like, oh, I'm suffocating. I gotta go get a spacesuit. And on the moon level, there's this alien, or not alien, but there's this like.
I'm not saying they're aliens.
There's a zombie in a spacesuit that I just like named after one of your friends on your friends list. And he's real slow. And when he grabs you, he steals any power-ups you have and then teleports you to a random place in the map. So I respawn. I'm going to get a spacesuit. And literally perfect, like, horror or comedy timing, like, based on how you feel about the situation. Literally, as soon as I get to the spacesuit and grab it, and I'm getting ready to put it on, the door opens. And I think his name was Greg or George or something like that in this game that we were playing. Because, he has a random name. And the door opens, and he's right there. And I'm standing right there, and he grabs me.
What's up, dude?
And steals my power-up. And then teleports me somewhere else randomly on the map, and I'm unable to get to another spacesuit, and I suffocate and die again. It was hilarious.
Here I thought you were going to say it was named after me. And there was caffeine rage.
That would be great, but no, it was like George or Greg or something, because it'll pull from your friends list or like some randomly generated like names.
It sounds like very generic names.
Yeah.
What was Bob taken?
Must have been.
Bob was in
too.
the base drinking Brain Tang.
But it's fun. It's just a lot of fun to play, and we all said, yeah, we should play this more often. So I don't know if we're actually going to or not, but we've all said that we want to. And I know that you're not the biggest fan of it.
Well,
but you would.
Well, the thing is, well, I was going to say the thing is that my only real encounter of it was on Kyle knowing exactly what to do on the map. So I was just standing there thinking, why the hell am I even here?
Yeah, Kyle's and I kind of go back and forth for who is performing the best, but Kyle does that Kyle thing where he optimizes everything, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna kill stuff.
Yeah, see, that kind of killed the enjoyment for me. Was Kyle had pretty much the perfect build for that particular map, and it just was not fun for me.
Yeah, I like to play like the random, like go to the random box and get random weapons and try new shit.
Oh, what, you went to the loot box? Spanking time.
Yeah, I went to the loot box. But Mel's is fun to have along for the ride.
Yeah, I don't
But
think Mills was on last time I played with Kyle.
no offense, Mel's. I love you, girl, but we definitely carry Mel's. But it's all right. We have a good time, and she's fun to play with, so that's all that matters. But yeah, it would be fun for all four of us to be there, and just whenever Kyle starts saying, "All right, we're gonna start a pain train," just like come find me or Mel's and be like, "I don't want to do what Kyle's saying. I just want to shoot things and talk shit about zombies." And then I'll tell you to come with me if you want to live.
Oh no, if I want to live, I'd probably go with the person that's min-maxed everything.
Fair play. Come with me if you want to have a good time. Wow.
Well, that's a burn for Kyle.
You're right, it is. I'm just digging a hole. So I'm just going to say that if you want to play Zoms...
What, are you going to just take caps lock at this point and just go all in?
Yeah, I'll just edit it out. But yeah, if you want to come have a good time playing some zombies with all of us, there will be at least one spot open, maybe two, because Mel's doesn't play, at least historically, she hasn't played as much as Kyle and I have whenever we do get together to play.
Maybe if Kyle doesn't min-max everything, I'll try it again. It was a bad experience, you know?
Kyle and I got pretty good at min-maxing the moon map together. We could get pretty far every time, but eventually it would just come down to like one of us would fuck up, and then the other one would be like, I don't know if I can do this all by myself. And eventually it would happen. Where
I'm sure there is one somewhere, but maybe we should look for some sort of, not pure randomly generated, but some sort of pseudo-random generation horde shooter.
You're talking about Fortnite Save the World Edition.
Okay. Only I don't want to pay for it. I'll wait for it to go to free.
When it goes free to play, that's probably a good place to start.
Yeah, I kind of miss Monday Night Combat. That had a pretty good horde shooter on it.
Yeah, I really like Monday Night Combat.
Yeah, shame the company you're running it was a bunch of dumbasses.
That rings true for a lot of companies these days, in the gaming industry specifically, or particularly. But yeah, I think that's all the games both of us played this week, right?
I believe so.
4 and 4. Sweet. So.
And we were only 15 minutes off our timer.
Yeah. So, moving on to the first news topic of the week.
Speaking of companies being dumbasses.
Indeed, Zavient Games removes the Culling 2 from storefronts. And there should be like a little...
yeah, this was pretty much in the middle of everything. They essentially decide, let's try the game that we actually had some people buy.
Yeah, the game that we had success with.
And didn't they announce that it was going to go free to play?
Did they say it was definitely going to?
I
know that I heard some like we're considering making it free to play, but maybe they did say they were making it free to play.
Yeah, this is such a weird thing. Okay, history lesson. The original Culling released a few years ago. All right, this was right when the Battle Royale genre was really starting to take off, but it was pre-PUBG. So, Battle Royale hasn't been invented yet.
Right.
I can hear you roll your eyes, by the way.
I didn't roll my eyes, but I did make a face because I was saying right, like, sarcastically.
But the Culling came out, and it was a weird combination of Battle Royale, or what would become pretty much the standard Battle Royale. A little bit of game show mechanics, but also some survival mechanics, where it has a crafting system in it, and it was more emphasis on melee combat, if I recall correctly. I had alpha code for it. I think I toyed around with it a little bit, but I never really got too far into it. Because I think Battle Royale is just not my thing. But as they progressed through early access, they essentially bucked with it so much that they lost the charm of the game and were chasing industry trends. To the point where after released onto early access, they dropped support for it altogether. Well, a few days ago, they announced and launched the Culling 2, which... Let's be perfectly honest. PUBG clone.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, just looking at
it looked more generic even than PUBG,
which is saying
which is
something.
hard to do.
And it looks like, or I should say, looked like it ran worse than PUBG, which is also a low bar to begin with. All sorts of level of detail pop in, some what looked like very floaty controls. It just didn't look like it was ready for prime time. It looked like it was Radical Heights with a PUBG skin. All right?
Yeah.
So it released, and it had a grand total, I think, peak players of somewhere in the 20 range for a Battle Royale game. And there was stories going around within 24 hours. 2 people are playing The Calling, too. Which turns out that it's one of those permadeath Battle Royales. You play the game, you die, you lose the game. Okay, not really. But they decided, let's pull this game because it's not selling. And focus on the game that people actually bought. And announced that they were refocusing on the original Calling. Oh.
Yeah. And that was the focus of this week's Gymquisition. We were talking about that. And like, look, here's a lesson to learn. After an industry trend becomes an industry trend, it's almost certainly too late to jump on the bandwagon. Focus on ideas that actually, can stand out or actually can be different and profitable. And I love that they went back to, it's like, oh, we're throwing in the towel on this new Battle Royale stuff. We're going to go back to what worked for us before, which was...
I mean, it's technically still Battle Royale, but it's just, it's such a weird thing. Let's see. It looks like, okay, they were essentially rebranding The Calling as Day One. That's right. The literal Day One version of the game, way back in March 2016, will be deployed. So they literally went back to the original Calling and went back to the launch version of it. I mean, talk about going back to the fucking drawing board, huh?
Yeah.
Because I hadn't figured out, exactly what this whole Day One thing was yet. Yeah, the Calling Day One reference is limited to PC only, since it is literally the same client we released in March of 2016. And it's not on Xbox. It's not Xbox One compatible. We'd love to make it available on Xbox, but that would require weeks, if not months of work. Rest easy, though, Xbox One players, because we will be bringing our future changes directly to you as well. So they are essentially going right back to the drawing board. This abuses me far, far too much, which maybe second time around they will do better, but they've lost a lot of community goodwill.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I never played The Culling. I didn't play The Culling 2 when it existed.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm on the Steam charts for the original Calling. Care to guess player numbers?
How many digits are there? Can you give me that?
Well, let's go by the week-long digits, all right? So this was covers pretty much the Calling 2's release, polling, and then the Day One launch, or Day One rebrand, or whatever. There are 2 digits.
Oh, Jesus. So less than 100.
Yes.
Damn. I mean, I was thinking like 400 or 500, but no, definitely not. Okay.
Let's put it this way: if I go to the month-long scale on Steam charts, it barely breaks 100 at one point. But it's in July 20th, so maybe that is the change date. Maybe it's barely in the week, outside of the week view. So maybe it breaks 100. And I'm being extra unkind, but The fact that the week long is down to 2 digits already, not a good sign.
Yeah. Definitely not.
Let's put it this way. 24-hour peak, 23.
Well, that's almost 1 an hour. That's better than some games on Steam.
Evolve.
Oh, shots fired.
Well, to be fair,
a little bit.
to get a full game, you only need 16 players. Because this isn't a 100-player battle royale.
So with 23, if
one
everyone
and
stayed
almost
on
two
all day, yeah.
Well, 1.5. Well, let's call it 1. To have the AFKers and people going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way: as of 25 minutes ago, 13.
Nice.
I'm going to guess that the game flopped.
Yeah, it definitely did.
To be fair, this hasn't been very good press for him, right?
No, it hasn't. And there a video where they were like, was it an apology video? I don't remember exactly, but it was like,
there isn't an apology video on the Steam store.
Yeah, I saw this on YouTube or
it's on YouTube.
Thing link on Reddit maybe.
Yeah, man, he looks so defeated.
Yeah, he looks so sad. Like, we made a mess.
This is terrible that we're laughing this much at it, but also not. Because, chasing industry trends when you're not... If the industry trend is already, hitting mainstream where the AAA games are doing it, it's too late. I think that's going to be... maybe that should be a new commandment. If the AAA games have already caught into a trend, it is already too late for that trend.
Yeah, it's too late. Unless you have something to add to it, like something that makes it unique or interesting or can distinguish yourself enough from the trend itself.
Well, the Calling 2 did distinguish itself as being more bland than PUBG.
Okay. Sure. Yes, it did do that. That is a true statement.
Based on the videos I've seen,
but
I
not
should say.
What I'm going for.
Oh. I do wonder what the future of this game is. If they're going to try to continue to... I can't even say improve. How about fix past mistake, put right what once went wrong? They're going full quantum leap.
I'm trying to decide if I should say don't ever go full quantum leap.
How about don't go series ending quantum leap? Because boy, that was a disappointment. Almost as much as the Calling sales. Yeah, it turns out God runs a bar. Who knew?
Yeah, Heaven's just a fancy Motel 6 across the street from a Denny's.
Not even the good Denny's. I mean, the one that, you get shits half the time from.
Yeah, and Satan runs the Denny's.
Which honestly makes a lot of sense.
That's actually in a book I read once called Hello, My Name is Karma. So it's a really interesting book, but I can't find it anywhere. I read it several years ago. I liked it. I had a copy, but it got lost when we moved.
Well, my favorite religious parody is the Gospel of Biff, Christ's or Jesus's childhood friend.
What?
Yeah. Let's see if I can find it on Amazon.
Now we're looking for books again. Welcome to the book portion of the podcast.
Oh, sorry. Lamb, the Gospel according to Biff, Christ's childhood pal. And yes, it is on Amazon. Here, I'll throw you a link on that one. Because, let's just put it this way. Jiu-Jitsu is named after Jesus.
Okay. Interesting.
You thought I was making this up. Turns out we found out where Biff went.
Yeah, he went to go write this book or be a part of the gospel.
I love that there's an imitation leather version of it as well. Because I just had the audiobook, but damn. Uh, but I think
Yeah,
we're
I'm
a little off
seriously
topic.
Oh, holy shit. Is this it?
What?
Did I find it? Oh, this is it.
Uh-oh.
It's $4 on this website. What is this? Barnes and Noble.
Oh, that's a gray market site. You don't want to buy from there.
Holy shit. Has he written any more books? Like, I know the guy who wrote this book. Let's see. Let's look him up on Amazon. No.
I'm looking at some of the other books that this guy Christopher Moore has written. You Suck, a Love Story, Blood-Sucking Friends, Book 2. Turns out this guy's girlfriend was a vampire. Practical Demon Keeping.
Yes. This is it. This book is probably going to suck horribly because I haven't read it in many, many years. But I went to high school with the guy who wrote this. He was a couple years older than me. I remember when he wrote the book, and he gave some of them to people that he knew and, was, friends or acquaintances with that were interested. And so he gave me a copy of his book.
The Stupidest Angel, a heartwarming tale of Christmas terror. May have to fill out my bookshelf with some of these.
Just ignore me while I'm on my quest. I'm just making sure that this book doesn't exist anywhere else I can get it than Barnes & Noble. But it doesn't look like it. It's not even on Amazon.
Wow.
He must have not went on to have a career as a writer.
That doesn't bode well.
No.
I mean, hell, anybody, any random Yahoo could put a book on Amazon, even self-published.
Yeah, it was a religious. If I remember correctly, it was religious satire. But it also dealt with some mental health stuff. Yeah. Add to cart. View my shopping cart. Can you pay with PayPal on Barnes & Noble? You can. Okay.
But basically, the gospel according to Biff, it's trying to fill out the blank space during Jesus's life. So they resurrected Biff, his childhood pal. And turns out Biff is not a very good person. Yeah, like you do.
Nice.
But yeah.
All right. I'll finish purchasing.
Yeah,
this book
yeah.
later.
We've gone down a weird rabbit hole.
We have.
Hey, but we found Franken Show content.
Maybe I'll do a reading of this book. It's not very long, if I remember it correctly. Just a few hundred pages. Maybe not even that long. Do a reading of it. Okay. On to our next news topic. A coding typo ruined the xenomorph AI in Aliens Colonial Marines.
Yeah, this is a story from last week that was just too juicy to, pass up and, just leave in the background. Oh, what the hell is I shouldn't even say Gearbox, because Gearbox farmed out so much Colonial Marines to focus on Borderlands 2 and shifted money to Borderlands 2. Even though they, denied it the entire time, but with the AI for the aliens broken this much, kind of hard to justify that, saying that you actually worked on this game, huh?
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, so what it was is that there was a typo. It was supposed to say tether.
Yeah.
Tether, but it was spelled
Tether.
Tether?
Yeah, Tether.
Tether?
Yeah, essentially,
Tether.
this typo was in the scripting for the aliens AI. It was in one of the AI files. And what this particular command was doing was it would look at essentially the map database to try to find routes to flank the player, to behave like an alien from the Aliens franchise, try to flank, try to not just charge head on. But because of this typo, they weren't able to find the database, so the AI assumed, okay, there's no routes around. We're in a tunnel. Let's charge. And it completely broke the alien AI because, any alien in the game would just blindly charge unless it was some sort of scripted event. And that seems like a big enough bug that people would, notice in playtesting, doesn't it?
Yeah. Try and fix it to be like, these aliens don't seem to be like tethering properly to the right area.
To be fair,
let's go look at their behaviors.
To be fair, with how the game was farmed out and done piecemeal, I assume, now granted, I'm not a programmer and I don't even play one on the podcast, that it would...
I found that funnier than I probably should have.
Like most of my jokes. I would assume that looking at somebody else's code and how they're doing things is like trying to learn a second language if you don't have any sort of proper notation or, have any clue of what the hell they're doing with this. So that could break things and make it a lot more difficult. They could have not been doing proper versioning, so it essentially, like in the Google document for the podcast, you're able to see the individual changes based on the versions. If they aren't doing that properly, that would make it a lot harder to be able to determine what changed and narrow down what broke it. So there are excuses, but the fact that they haven't patched it in 5 years, less so.
Yeah, and honestly, even though, sure, it seems like an honest mistake, just a typo, missed it, couldn't figure it out or whatever, the game is still broken in so many other ways and incomplete.
Yeah, this doesn't make it, some sort of diamond in the rough. This just makes it less
modders,
shit.
Yeah. Modders have been able to, without correcting this typo, because if it was just a typo, I assume a modder who found that earlier would have said something.
This was found a few weeks ago by a modder trying to essentially fix the game. And, or it broke a few weeks ago. It was actually found a couple months ago, but never really made the rounds news-wise, from what I could understand. So, this was found by a modder trying to fix the game, and I'm not sure if he was just going through, and this is something that, writing a lot of text, it's easy to, add a letter, and, just glancing at it, it's, hard to notice unless you're really looking for it, especially since the two commands aren't lined up. So, I do understand how it could be missed, but at the same time, this is something that should have easily been found in QA. Or if it was found and wasn't fixed, this leads to some sort of breakdown in communication within whatever developer was actually working on this. Yeah, it said it was uncovered in 2017, so it's been a few months.
Okay.
It just didn't make the news rounds until very recently. I'm assuming that whatever modder found this was, is probably closer to the release of one of the versions of his mod. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, if you change this, remove a letter, it makes the alien AI work a lot better. Turns out it's AAI instead of AI, huh?
Yeah. I find it this game. This is like the one of the gaming gifts that keeps on giving.
Gearbox or Aliens Colonial Marine? Because honestly,
yes.
Gearbox does some shitty stuff as well. And also, did you see the response from Gearbox? I didn't put in the docket.
I don't remember.
The job listing?
I saw it, but I don't remember what it said.
No,
Oh, no, job listing? No, I didn't see that.
Okay, so
I saw a snarky tweet, I think.
They did a snarky tweet and it linked to a job listing for a copy editor for code, essentially. And the one requirement was, what is the proper spelling of tether. But it came off so bitterly to me, mostly because this has been unpatched and missed for years.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've realized that there was probably external forces for an Aliens game. But having the AI for your antagonist in a completely non-functional state, or essentially non-functional because they were moving, so to the point where the aliens don't even act like what they're supposed to be, that would be a reason to delay the game. And I realize that that is getting in the way of marketing. That's going to cause all sorts of corporate backlash. But a bad game on release is tough to shake that albatross, that constant. Well, it's less shitty now. I mean, even look at No Man's Sky, that has seen a lot of improvement through its post-release patches. There are still a lot of people, myself included, that are rather jaded by the game just because of how deceptive the marketing for that game was and how it should have never released in the state it was. No matter the fact that Sean Murray pretty much was just saying, well, it released in the state we thought it would be good in, but we were running out of money. Little jackass.
We'll have more time to talk about that later, next week.
Maybe. Because you have other things that you have to play as well.
Indeed, I do.
But what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I've been talking a little bit as we've gone about it. This doesn't let them off the hook just because of how broken the game was in other ways.
Or the fact that the preview for it, the vertical slice of gameplay, was complete bullshit.
Yeah, completely 100% scripted.
Well, not even completely scripted, because, that's the thing about E3 trailers, is that they are scripted. There's been videos about other games showing, just how scripted they are and how, the slice of gameplay is kind of a bullshit thing to begin with. Granted, this may not be as true these days, but I still think it is pretty true that you're pretty much just watching in-game in-engine footage instead of gameplay footage a lot of the time. Or if it's not completely scripted, it's guided to such an extreme extent that it may as well be. But the entire sequence that they showed was nowhere even close to being in the game. That's where the vertical slice of gameplay was bullshit. This isn't, a Watch Dogs segment where they changed the lighting system because, the consoles just couldn't handle it,
Yeah.
This was them saying that it takes place in Chicago, but it's in St. Louis.
Yeah. I will say one other thing is that I've heard some amount of disagreement on how much it actually fixes the AI.
I've seen some gameplay footage, and it looks like it does quite a bit of changes to it. Granted, the people that's showing it are usually in the first couple of encounters with the aliens, so later on it may hit treble. And considering...
or later on it may actually become more improved.
Yeah.
As there's more stuff to deal with.
Yeah, well, it may also be there may be other problems in the AI code.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just... it's inexcusable. I think that's pretty much what I have to say about it. It's inexcusable that it was released in the state.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, I could understand how it happened on an internal level, but it should have never been released.
Yeah.
And that's all I gotta say about that.
That's all I have to say about that. Well, I will say that I have drained my water, and I need a quick
And then needed
break.
to go make water.
Indeed. So let's take a quick break. On to our next news topic then, now that you're... Now that you're ready to go. Germany bans vague pre-order release dates. So to sort of put that into more specific terms, they've banned pre-order sales or pre-orders on things that don't have specific release dates. So you can no longer pre-order a game that's coming soon or, was just announced and won't be released for a couple of years. It has to have an actual
you'll have to Kickstarter
date.
it instead.
Yeah.
Or I would say like quarters, like available in the fall or, available Q2, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder if that counts or if that's even too vague.
Well, they just said vague, without a solid release date, according to German news. Granted, this is a translation of a site. I'm assuming that's your water.
Listening to me pouring water into my cup.
Well, I just heard it at first, and then I just stopped and, that's water. But yeah, since they were saying it's vague or non-concrete, non-solid, one of those words, I would assume that it includes, just out in August would be banned as well. So, quick question: is this what consumer protectionism looks like?
I think so. I think this is what, consumer protection is like. If only we had some of that over here in the United States. Some sort of consumer protection, some kind of digital rights stuff that works in our favor instead of some corporate bullshit way.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to find an argument for, why this is a bad thing outside of, wearing a suit, right?
Yeah.
Because this is highly in favor of the consumer. And usually whenever they have these vague release dates, for one, it's very prone to be either delayed or at the very end of that window. So, if it's an autumn release date, it'd be practically December. Assuming, of course, they're talking about the consumer calendar, not the business calendar, of course. But yeah. But yeah, it's hard to really find issue with this, really, in my opinion. I mean, granted, I'm sure that there's going to be people complaining because whenever that was something else that was possibly on the docket at one point, or going to be on the docket, was the banning of loot crates, the trading of them, or even in some cases the opening of them. Seeing people pipe up complaining about not being able to open them. Particularly in CSGO. Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Because I absolutely hate it whenever people uses the initials for a game and you're not exactly sure what it is.
Well, I mean, I know what CSGO is.
Yeah, but it's for me to be completely...
anyone who's listening...
to be completely clear. Counter-Strike Global Offensive was recently smacked down. I believe it was in the Netherlands and somewhere else. They were unable to allow trading of items obtained out of a loot crate because, the whole gambling thing. And I've seen more than a few people pissed about not being able to trade away their stuff. I mean, I could understand why if it's just this sudden. But at the same time, it's such a slimy practice to begin with. So seeing the consumers protected, even against what they would really want, at least in the short term, it's hard to argue.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand being frustrated if you put all this money and effort or whatever into getting that stuff, and then suddenly you can't trade it or whatever.
Especially some of the people that not really make a living on it, but close enough that they're comfortable.
Yeah.
Or I can see how it funds their hobby.
Yeah. I mean, I can see how that sucks, and I understand that, but those people would be in the minority, as opposed to the people that this is going to help more. And that's, there's always some negative consequence to any decision that's made. Pretty much, maybe not always, but most of the time. And so even though this is going to be helping, this is in general good for the consumer, there are going to be some outliers who, like you said, are maybe funding their hobby via this stuff, or are earning a little bit, earning a living off of it or something like that. And it does suck for those people, but I think it's more important to protect the group as a whole. This is a needs of the many situation.
Outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
Indeed.
Well, I had to completely
Very logical. You did. I understand. But, this is that type of situation. So, sometimes that happens. Life is certainly not fair. But I think that this is, or that was a good thing, making it more fair for other people, as consumer protection. But anyways, that was a related tangent, but still a tangent.
Yeah, according to this, the ruling follows a consumer protection claim against leading German electronics chain, MediaMarkt, over pre-orders for a smartphone, but now applies to all products, including video games. So this is more of a broad thing anyway in Germany, which the whole, coming soon is really just limited to electronics and video games these days. Because usually they want the hype train to know the exact day it's pulling into the station, right?
Yeah. You'll get, we had a very brief discussion about this before. You'll get like a coming soon to whatever for movies.
Yeah, but that's a teaser, not a full trailer. That's the thing.
Yeah. Which is still advertising, but it's not like the main thrust of the advertising. It's the trailer for the trailer.
Yeah, like announcing the announcement.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different.
And also, that's not exactly the same as the whole pre-order stuff to begin with. But yeah, it's so odd to see consumer protectivism,
Yeah. This is normal in civilized parts of the world.
Oh. Now it makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're saying that we shouldn't be electing hooting baboons?
That is, yeah.
And that's not even just Trump. The guy in Georgia, did you see him?
Oh, yeah. The guy, yeah.
Wow.
I'm not even going to talk about him. That does not deserve to be talked about. He deserves to not even be up for consideration.
Thankfully he isn't.
Oh, well, okay. The last time I saw that wasn't...
Oh, no. Obviously, you don't know the entire story then. He lost his primary, so he's out in a few months anyway.
Oh, good. Thank God.
He's just making an ass of himself. Literally.
For anyone who doesn't know, he was literally being openly racist and using racial slurs in campaign speeches.
No, maybe we were thinking of different people because this is the one that was on some sort of punked show.
Okay. Nope, there was a Georgia politician who was running for some office who was using racial slurs openly and saying things like, we should be allowed to use these words if they're allowed to use other words, and if we're going to treat everybody equally, then we deserve to be able to say what we want to them. This is America, First Amendment, freedom of speech.
Okay. We're talking about two completely different Georgia dumbasses.
Oh, good. So they're... Jesus.
Now, in between topics, which were pretty much here anyway, I need to go get you a link.
Uh-huh.
And we're pretty much there anyway, so...
Yep, you said you're going to give me a link, so I'm just waiting on it.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the short version of it. Because there's the long version as well. This has the text ad blocker, but you can just click and continue watching it. It's there. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you haven't seen this guy. We get a live reaction, more Franken Show content. I'm assuming this is two different guys. Or maybe you're seeing the fallout from it. I don't know.
Yeah, no thanks on the ads.
Yeah, just continue watching and it brings it up. Now, mind you, politician. Did you just deflate?
I'm still watching. What? I have not seen this. Oh my! Literally is showing his.
Is this two different guys?
This is two different guys.
This is probably one of his
God.
constituents protecting him or trying to. Did I just break you?
I can't. I don't. Just. Wow. Just fucking wow. But not in a good way.
The modern Republican Party?
The modern something. All right. Let's return to things that make sense and don't make me want to commit acts of violence.
Oh, sorry.
Because that might not be the solution. 4 years after it was announced, Crackdown 3 is in a tough spot.
Yeah, I may have broken Jared in between news topics, and we'll probably be in Franken content.
Yeah, not as tough as those Georgian politicians.
Well, you just need to scream America.
Yeah. And racial slurs. Repeatedly and loudly. All right. So yeah, Crackdown 3. It's been announced at E3s for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
at this point.
It originally took the stage in 2015 during the Gamescom media briefing to present pre-alpha footage of the game, and it's not really progressed all that far since, has it?
Nope.
Oh.
It's had multiple release dates that have all been moved or pulled. It was slotted for release at some point this year. It had like a hard release date, and then that was pulled, and then it was shown off at E3 again, and I think it was given a release date for next year, and then that's been pulled too.
So they're following the Kingdom Hearts 3 model.
Yes. Yes, they are. Which is, we'll get there
eventually. Yeah, only they're not releasing about 20 sub games in between the two main stays of the series.
Yeah, and the Crackdown series was fun. It definitely, it wasn't not fun, but it was.
Is it something that requires this long a development time?
No, I don't think
Granted,
so.
they are talking about. Let's see. They promised a competitive multiplayer open world experience with 100% destructible environments. Boy, there's so many things in that sentence that is red flags to me. Granted, never really played the Crackdown series because it was console exclusive as far as I know.
Yeah, it was. Crackdown 2 had semi-destructible environments. So not everything was destructible, but lots of the environment was destructible. And because the whole idea is like you're a super soldier, you could pick up pieces of buildings and throw them at people.
No. You're not a super soldier. Let's say it what it is. You're Terry Crews in an Old Spice commercial.
Yes.
Literally.
You're right. Yeah, that was what they did for their E3 trailer this E3. Or this year's E3.
Yeah, but it starts to make a little bit more sense now, doesn't it?
It does. But this game should have already been flying off of shelves and into the consoles of millions.
Now, are we talking about in the front side or the back side of the pants?
Yes.
And
underwear.
Pants. Yeah, see what I did there? A little wordplay. But
Indeed.
yeah, it's just well, there was a video that I saw not long before our recording time from, I'm pretty sure it was Sid Alpha, talking about how Final Fantasy VII, its remaster, was it may have been announced a tad too early. And I think this is a trend that we're slowly seeing reined in, not removed, reined in. Where games aren't announced years beforehand, most of the time, unless you're Bethesda, but then it's a teaser. That, who knows when that will show up, right? Yeah. Even though I saw people earlier today actually talking about how hyped they are for Starfield. How?
Yeah, that's got 2 years minimum before that's out.
2?
At least.
No, it's 2 years minimum for the next Elder Scrolls game before they even start major work on Starfield.
Oh, I thought that they were.
I thought it was Elder Scrolls.
That was part of the announcement.
I thought it was Elder Scrolls then Starfield, not the other way around. Maybe I got those two backwards, but it's still multiple years, and you literally just have a teaser that shows, it's in space and the title, and you're hyped. Obviously, you haven't been playing many Bethesda games lately, have you?
I've been playing one Bethesda game here lately.
Technically, I mean, it's published by Bethesda.
Well, yeah.
But this is, once again, just more industry stuff that just doesn't make a lot of sense, at least to someone on the outside. Maybe for an industry insider, especially for a triple A game release that was supposed to be early console generation launch, not launch, but early first year, second year launch, after launch, I should say. It just makes no sense to me that it's taking this long unless there's some severe design issues that they're having to work out. Which for a Crackdown game?
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't...
What could they be working on that...
Don't see it. There's got to be something else going on. I suspect that this is something where people get put on and then pulled off of the project to go work on other things. So it's just
perpetual redoing and understanding the code?
Yeah, because I remember for Sea of Thieves, I had read an interview or saw an interview, or maybe it was a big Reddit post about someone who had worked there. Like they were when Sea of Thieves, they were hoping it was gonna be some major, massive thing, some big hit, which it did well for Xbox, but
for what it was.
It was not what they wanted it to be. But at one point, they had pulled people. There were like 250 or 300 people working on Sea of Thieves, trying to basically redo a bunch of stuff. And they'd pulled people off of a bunch of projects. I suspect the Crackdown team has been pulled off of
possibly
many projects to work on other things.
I'm thinking about who is developing Crackdown.
I think it's a Microsoft first-party title. Although I don't know which studio specifically they would have working on it. Does it say in the article?
No, that's why. Or at least I didn't see it in my breeze over. Reagent Games, Sumo Digital, and Cloud9, which Regent is no longer working on Crackdown 3, so strike them. Crowd looks like they're only working on Crackdown 3, and Sumo Digital has a
Regent Games, Sumo Digital, CloudGen.
Yeah, it looks like Sumo Digital has a lot of things on right now, including Dead Island 2. So they have Dead Island 2 still cooking. They have Project Nova, whatever the hell that is. That doesn't even have a proper Wikipedia page, and I don't recognize the name. Team Sonic Racing. So yeah, they have a few things, so they could have been pulled off. So yeah, that does make a lot more sense. That the team is just getting shipped around.
Yeah, which could cause tons.
Especially
of
since there's
the same team stick on the project for a long period of time,
and especially since they lost a developer on it and that went somewhere else. I do think that if they didn't announce it, they would have just quietly canceled Crackdown 3 by this point. And it's just they're going to have to take the money pit approach at this point because they would just get so much negative publicity. And let's be perfectly honest. To borrow a phrase from Jim Sterling, the Xbox is just a little bit shit.
It's just a little bit shit.
There's not a lot of first-party titles on it, unless it's Halo.
Yeah. And all of their other first-party titles, I mean, all of their titles, I think, are available on PC, except for Halo? Is that the only one you can't get on PC?
I'm pretty sure.
There's probably a few other ones, but Halo's the big one. And yeah, you can't get Halo on PC aside from Halo Wars.
Yeah, which honestly, why would you want to play Halo Wars on PC? I mean, it's pretty much designed for... No, that's... Okay, maybe it might be a slight against Halo Wars, but it's more...
It played pretty well on PC.
Yeah, but...
I played it both ways.
Yeah, but it's designed pretty much around a controller.
It is, but it does still perform better on
and
keyboard
the thing
and mouse.
Is, at least last time I checked... Oh, no, they did bring it to Steam, so you don't have to mess with the Windows Store. So I forgot that they released it on Steam for a bit, but... So, yeah. But, yeah. Yeah, maybe it's that or feature creep, you know. Oh, this is kind of cool. We should do this. Yeah, we should do this. We should do this as well. That's related to this. And they just build system upon system upon system. You see this a lot in Kickstarters where they have a good core idea, but they add so much shit upon it that it's just drowned out.
Yeah.
And they really don't give any reasoning behind this. You know, they have a lot of corporate speak, and that's about it. And, I mean, Crackdown 3 isn't even going to be this year. It's going to be early next year. So who knows if it's going to get delayed again, because the beginning of next year is getting a little crowded. I mean, the article lists Anthem, Days Gone, and Metro Exodus all launch on the same day as Crackdown 3 in February. The same day. So, seeing it get shifted, especially with the Division 2 not far after, wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities. Besides, it's not like the fans of Crackdown aren't used to the disappointment by now. Right?
Yep. I was at one point excited about this because I'm a fan of the series from the past, but at this point I'm so many years removed from it, I'm just like, nah, fuck it. I've got other games to play.
It is the Kingdom Hearts syndrome. They have the development go on for so long that people just forget that it was even a thing.
Yeah.
And then lose their shit when a trailer finally gets released at E3.
Whoa!
It's Terry Crews! He's doing the thing. Whatever Terry Crews is known for. Yelling, right?
I don't know. If actually.
And smelly of Old Spice. That's it. But he's not on a horse. That's the other guy.
I'm on a horse.
Yeah, some of the behind the scenes for the Old Spice commercials were just fascinating.
For how they shot that?
Yeah. Because it was all practical effects, or mostly practical effects.
Yeah. Alrighty. Ready to move on to the last couple things in the show?
I think so.
Did we have... I know we didn't have any emails. Did we
have any tweets? We got tweets. People discovered that we have a Twitter.
Community Corner us up.
Which, if you wish to be in the Community Corner, VGLpodcast@gmail.com or VGL Podcast on the Twitter. So, Kyle, hey, VGL community, Mel's agreed to start a game of Axis and Allies with me. That been said, what side should she be on? And this is kind of an old poll. She ended up playing the Allies and lost to the sassy German. Unfortunately, I did request it be a stream, but they didn't stream it. But it was an Axis victory. So, the world is just a little bit more sassy. Kyle, again... I started a new game of Factorio, and I may have come up with the dumbest way to achieve coal liquidation. But you put Don Blankenship in charge of the mine? For those who don't know, go look up West Virginia Don Blankenship political ads. He's a tower of charisma. Anyway, rather than use a few boilers and solid fuel to generate the steam for this production, I could just turn the system up to a 40 megawatt reactor and using the steam from that. Please note this reactor would not be used to produce energy, just oil. And beautiful, clean liquid coal, also known as oil. Mel's, can't you just hook it up to the butt end of Shara fanboy? They give off just as much steam. I'm not sure why She-Ra's in this. Is there a thing that I don't know about? Do I need to go to Out of the Loop?
I don't know, because I don't know about the thing.
Yeah, a butthurt She-Ra fan. So that's 80s cartoons. I'm assuming some sort of reboot that I don't know about and frankly don't care about because that's a little bit before my time. And I still have a few years before my childhood is completely ruined by reboots. Thankfully, my favorite movie is Safe Until the Producer Dies. So, yeah, I got that going for me, which is nice. Kyle, once again, responding to Mel's. If you can figure out how to hook them up to the liquefaction factories, I'm all for this. And then Unknown Spaceman. I was listening to the latest Franken episode, and until Raid said the word Pyrex, Raid said the word Pyrex, there was a moment where I thought bakeware was a new PC term. Well, see, I got this new Pyrex motherboard from Asus. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, you gotta admit that some of the cooking terms could be used as computer terms, huh?
Yeah. I wonder how a capuche could be a computing term.
Oh, simple. It's a caboose air cooler.
Oh, there you go. I like that.
Yeah, an Asus Pyrex motherboard with a caboose air cooler. Yeah. And we're just confusing people, aren't we?
Indeed.
Or, you overclock your computer too much and it just goes capuche.
Capuche.
Yeah, and then it becomes the magic smoker. So I already gave the email and the Twitter, so that's pretty much for the community corner. Once again, if you wish to feed the content, do so, vglpodcast@gmail.com or vglpodcast on the Twitter. So, music time?
Indeed. Let's doobly do for that Discovery Q.
Oh, I got some shit on the front end of this. What in the fuck? Okay, this is pretty much, I'm going to add this for you. Because that's the only reason, because this looks, I don't know, it doesn't look terrible, but there's a reason why it's probably going to get sales. And there's two of them.
Okay.
Dead or School. A anime booby beat 'em up from the looks of it. Let's just put it this way. The screenshots very much highlight certain aspects.
I'm in for the anime boobies, but beat 'em ups.
I mean, I think this is a beat 'em up. Beat 'em up or Metroidvania. It says hack and slash, so hack and slash beat 'em up.
Okay.
I mean, it looks like it's actually getting decent reviews, which is a little surprising. It looks like it has some production quality to it, which is also a little surprising. From the looks of it, it also is at least first time on Steam for this particular developer and publisher. It's a self-published game. I mean, it actually doesn't look bad, but it has a certain focus. It kind of lowers the expectations, right?
Yeah, is that a robot? Is that Robot Mantis? Defeat enemies to make your girls stronger.
Well, usually that's how XP with systems work.
Those are some bouncy boobies.
Zombies conquered the land of Tokyo, also known as Japan. Without hope, in underground shelters, people lived quietly. Well, except for the without hope thing. A girl who grew up underground heard the word school from her grandmother. School is where children play and learn. It's parades for young people, the best place to spend their youth. Hisako dreamed of this school, and one day she would was on an underground train heading above ground. What awaits her there? Despair. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a high-quality game in storytelling. It may be decent on actual gameplay, though.
Yeah, it looks like it does. It has a lot of pre-purchased assets that don't go together.
Yeah, which is
art style-wise, which is not a good sign. Yeah. It doesn't look like an asset flip, so that's a good sign. Yeah. But who knows? Maybe this is a one-man show, and he's bad at art, so he just got what he thought was cool stuff.
Well, I got another game pretty much immediately after I hit the next in queue. Did you get anything?
Yeah, I've been staring at this one.
I can see why.
Talking about it. Oh, hey, wait! I got Dead or School too.
Well, I beat you to it. And here I was putting it on because I thought you may not get it. I got Warhammer 40k Gladius Relics of War. Essentially, Warhammer 40k Civ. It looks like turn-based, Civ-style gameplay, which, works. Not sure how good it's going to be because the Warhammer franchise has a very up and down history when it comes to video games, and there's some very scathing reviews on this, so. But it looks like it's pretty much Civ 5 mechanics. Not nice. Really a lot to talk about on this. Because
so I got one.
Yeah, go ahead because
Outpost Zero.
That was literally my next game.
This looks kind of like Space Engineers, but with a little bit more focus on combat, and also it says that you can command robotic minions around. And I'm always interested in stuff like that. Otherwise, yeah, there's some pretty explosion effects that they're showing off. But otherwise, it just looks like a survival crafting sci-fi game. But I do like the idea of having, a robot army, or at least some.
What, you want a robot army?
Yes, indeed. Not just a Twitter bot army, mind you, a robot army.
What, you don't want to win the election?
I don't think so. I don't think I want the pressure.
Yeah, but the fun part about it is with the Electoral College, you could both win and lose at the same time.
Yeah, so we've seen, I believe, 5 times in U.S. history.
Yeah, and twice within the last...
All within the last...
I was going to say twice in this century.
Yeah.
So, Shining Resonance Refrain. JRPG from Sega. Not much more to say about it. I mean, Shining Resonance, it's one of those series that I know is popular, but I've never played. If that makes any sense.
Yes.
Looks like some fairly good reviews, just glancing over it. Looks like it has some sort of at least partial visual novel stuff for some of the cutscenes. Or, visual novel style, I should say. But not, a lot to talk about. I mean, JRPG. If you like your JRPGs, probably go for it. It is a full price title, though, so. And it just released very recently. In the last 2 weeks. Released 14 days ago. How is this game relevant to you? Van Helsing and a Torchlight 2. I don't think either of those are JRPGs. And they're completely different genres based on this, on the couple screenshots I could see. That actually shows gameplay. Yeah, it looks like at some point you actually control a dragon as well. There you go. There's something for you.
Woohoo! So I got another one, Arc Noir. This looks like a visual novel Okay, I'm just gonna read. Arc Noir is a resource management heavy RPG in which we'll use a wide variety of perks to build characters to your liking, take advantage of all sorts of seemingly random appearing items in order to survive the extreme conditions in which you find yourself. And
Question.
It looks kind of steampunky more than noir, but it could be more noir writing or maybe actually in gameplay. You see more of those noir aspects.
Question. Is it actually random or seemingly random?
Don't know.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I'm
starting to get all the bullshit Battle Royale games.
Nice.
I bet you this game has under 10 players. Steam chart. Let's put it this way. It's not even finding it. And yeah, this looks like pretty much pre-baked assets for a lot of it. Oh, and whenever you click on it, it looks like it has the old Doom aesthetic. Or Wolfenstein aesthetic, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be a hard pass.
Yeah. So I just got through my list. I had 2. That's good enough.
I got 2 more. And one that is intriguing. It's... I'm not sure how to pronounce the first word on this. It's one of them there foreign words. Oh. Yeah, it must have not copied correctly. Or it's because the kanji on it's not copying correctly. So let's try it without the kanji. There we go. Tashuru Scarlet Curiosity. This is an RPG with, they say, bullet hell mechanics. Okay. It actually doesn't look that bad graphically. I mean, granted, they have a shit ton of bloom on some of these screenshots, which is a little troubling.
Just try and make it look pretty.
I'm blind!
They went on Michael Bay.
Computer, turn off the lens flare generator. I mean, they have some things on here that look like they could be pre-bought assets, but it's tough to really tell. Particularly that snake looks odd, you know? In one of the screenshots.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's interesting. Let's see, last game of my Discovery queue. Oh, dear God, that looks hideous. Let's put it this way. All the screenshots look like they're... What resolution is that?
A very bad one.
I mean, it's less than 50% of my screen whenever I click on them, so that would be below 720p.
I was adjusting myself, and it made a weird squeaky noise.
Well,
I'm assuming you heard the squeaky noise.
I didn't hear the squeaky noise. It sounded like you were beating on something.
Oh, nope. Maybe that was just my chair moving.
Or were you adjusting yourself in a different way?
Nope, not this time.
Oh, this time. So there's been times before. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I need an adult. And for you to tell us what's going on. Because I was thinking of the Discovery queue.
The Discovery queue is over? Was that your last game?
Yeah. The part of the podcast where you go first.
Indeed, the part of the podcast where I go first.
Oh.
If you want to find me on the YouTubes, you can do so by searching for Gaming Psychologist, where I post things that I enjoy doing for fun. And right now I'm considering doing a fun reading of this audiobook, which I purchased. Hello, my name is Karma. I think I'm going to read it first and refamiliarize myself with it.
Is it going to be a dramatic reading?
Probably not. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, I might be doing that.
No, let's be perfectly honest. Your friend from school is going to be like, wait, somebody actually bought this fucking thing?
Yeah, man. But otherwise, in the near future, we'll be putting up the Spin Tires episodes, we're we're halfway done with the starter maps.
We're pretty much
on
at
just normal difficulty.
Yeah, we're pretty much at the exact halfway point.
So those will be coming out relatively soon.
Wait. We can't use that term. Otherwise, we can't allow pre-orders.
Well, thankfully, I'm not putting them up for pre-order. If you want to follow me on Twitter, where you can see me tweet about all kinds of things, you can do so at JMA4707. If you want to head on over to Twitch, where I use the Twitch Premiere system to run episodes live, as well as maybe at some point I'll stream again. But it's really better for my mental health when I don't, because it's very draining to do streaming. But maybe sometimes I would still do it, especially for community events or something.
Whenever you do a stream, you are draining something.
Oh, yeah. But anyways, that's twitch.tv/jarthur4707. Also, if you want to be my friend on Steam, you can do so by sending a friend request to jarthur4707. I accept all friend requests from the lovely people who are the lovely listeners of our
lovely podcast.
I almost said lovely podcast, but I'm not sure if either of us are really all that lovely. But we try.
Well, it depends on just how bad your vision is.
My vision's pretty bad.
Well, I was talking about the people looking at us.
Oh.
Yeah,
what about you?
That big blob looks somewhat lovely.
What about you, buddy? Where can they find you?
Well, first of all, if you wish to let Jared know exactly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the password for this week is Brew Brothers. Brew Brothers.
Brew Brothers? Not Blue? Brew?
Because of the cold brew.
I got you. I'm just making sure I heard you correctly.
That's why I enunciated the second time.
Gotcha.
Besides, we eat two fat Blues Brothers. That doesn't work. Oh no, maybe we could capture Kyle.
Kyle's chubby. He's not as fat as we are.
Yeah, but see, it is in comparison.
Gotcha.
So for me, there's not been a lot going on my channel. Had pretty much just a constant sinus headache over the weekend and recording issues on the one thing that was actually interesting that I was able to try to do quickly enough whenever I was a little bit more coherent, which I realized hearing me bumble and trip over myself right now, coherent is probably the furthest thing from your mind. But RimWorld still is really ongoing, and that's been pretty much the constant on my channel. I'm in the middle of picking something to replace Rage because that completely broke with any recording software I threw at it. It's just something odd with how they did the game, which based on some of the technical issues I was having to overcome, I'm going to guess that there's a lot of typos in that code. Yeah. And of course, Spin Tires will eventually maybe come out. We're going to have to figure that one out, huh? But I think we also need to have a recording evening where we have more than one episode recorded, right?
Yeah.
Because that would probably help get the backlog up and running. But you can find all of that over at Gaming with Caffeine Rage on the YouTubes, or see me tweet somewhat randomly about who knows what. I was rather pissed with Skype 8 being forced to use that because I must have missed the news that they were discontinuing use of Skype Classic. And I had a rather colorful metaphor for what I thought of Skype 8. Should I say what it was?
You can if you want to.
Well, I just compared Skype 8 to a warm dog turd. It stinks, and only thing I want to do is scrape it off my shoe. Yeah, and I should have added it's disgusting, but I think that was pretty much implied. And, well, speaking of non-disgusting things, hopefully, the ending stuff to the show. Once again, hopefully you don't send us anything disgusting. We want discussion, not disgusting. Enunciation, it's key, especially in audio. VGL podcast.
Also, I would be okay.
Oh, sorry. I was going through the email. VGL podcast at gmail.com. Okay.
I would be okay with disgusting discussion, though.
Yeah, but that's you. You're open to pretty much anything.
Pretty much.
I mean, your turn-off list is more of a just like a post-it note.
Yeah.
Anyway, VGL podcast at gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, gaming-related topics, questions, or just tweet them to us at VGL podcast on the Twitter. If you wish to help to pay for this absolute madness, you can do so patreon.com/VGL podcast, which helps pay for our Podbean account, VGLpodcast.podbean.com, which hosts the RSS feed if you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch. So you can get the show downloaded directly to you, as well as our show notes, but you can also get the show from iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, but not Squeaker. Fuck Squeaker, right?
Oh yeah, fuck Squeaker. Also fuck Spreaker.
I knew it was one of those made up words. I was close enough.
Yeah, Squeaker's the girl. Spreaker is the podcast service.
Oh wait, who was Squeak? Oh, yeah.
Remember from the story
yeah.
about squeakers?
All right.
Call back to 6 months ago.
To be fair, it's all kind of a
Give or
blur.
take. Yeah, that's true.
Much like our intro and outro music On the Ground by Kevin McLeod and Doobly Doo by the same artist. And you can find his work at incompetech.com if you need a refresher.
Oh. As always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Bye now.
See you next time. I caught you off guard on that one, didn't I?
You did. I got a little bit of a chuckle. Bye-bye.